Hey, I'm Tom Alexander. Glad to talk with you today. Talking to you from the book of Matthew, chapter 10. I don't know if you had a chance to watch this new series called The Chosen recently. It's a great video series where they're trying so hard to maybe show Jesus in a way that some of us always thought he is or could be or should be, but he's been presented on screen and in church and in so many ways as serious and um, very formal, and everything's very intense. And this video series that's out now, which I really would recommend you try and watch, shows a Jesus who walked around with these disciples for 3 years, 24/7. You know, they ate and they drank and they laughed and they had arguments and they stumped their toe and they uh, got lost in the dark, and they had to, cook food and carry their sleeping stuff when they stayed overnight at different stuff. And so it just kind of shows Jesus in a way that's really, really cool, because you think he had a sense of humor. Uh, Things moved him, and he cried, and the different disciples would come up and ask this or that, and um, he would respond to them as people who were knowing each other for 3 years. It was a very close relationship. When Matthew chapter 10, the first few verses, it talks about the 12 first disciples that were called to join him in this following. And, he called, Peter's real famous for being called. Matthew's very famous for being called. The fishermen, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, they're all famous for being called. Of course, Judas, he was called and very famous for being called. Simon the Zealot, very famous for being called. But what I love about the first part of Matthew chapter 10 is that Jesus calls some very, very different people. The people you would think who are going to help provide this new great religious revival and resurgence. These are not what you'd call outstandingly religiously known leaders in the community. These four fishermen, I guess I'd liken them to like maybe hard truck drivers today. I mean, these are guys who had to work hard, work 7 days, well, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. Just really challenging for the jobs that they had. They were rough and tough. They probably swore, and they probably, maybe overdid it at the bar at the end of the day sometimes. But Jesus sees something in these guys that, you know how to catch fish. I'm going to help you catch people. There's something more important in life, and I want to show you that. And so he calls these Peter, Andrew, James, and John to follow him. He calls a guy like Matthew, tax collector. He was hated by all the other Jews because he basically had sold out to the Romans back then, and he was collecting taxes from his own people and sometimes over-collected and lined his own pockets. And they lived very affluently and richly, and they hate him. But Jesus calls Matthew, and he leaves everything. He leaves it all behind because he wants something better. And this life is not fulfilling to him. And then he calls a guy Simon the Zealot. These zealots were the guys who hated tax collectors and who hated the Romans. They killed people. They assassinated people. And yet Jesus says to Simon, I want you to follow me. And imagine what it was like for Simon and Matthew to be in the same group who had been basically antagonists towards each other. And he also calls Judas, someone that one day is going to betray him. My point is, a lot of us sometimes don't think we're worthy of following Jesus, or we've got too much baggage, we've got too many sins, we've got a real past. And yet Jesus looks into our lives and says, no, I got big dreams for you. You can have a life. You can be forgiven. You can start over. There's something more important than just what's going on in your daily life here that's so full of potential and joy and happiness. And plus there's an eternal life that I'm coming here to give, and I want you to know about it, and I want you to follow me. And there's a cost to following Jesus, but it's so worth it. So I guess I wanted to encourage you today to take a fresh look at Jesus and look at the kind of people he called. He didn't care if they were sinners. He didn't care if they had messed up. He didn't care if they had fallen. He saw people that were redeemable and could have something new. And Matthew 10 starts out by saying, here's the 12 he gathers. And they're a diverse group. But he says, they all fit into my kingdom. They all need eternal life. They all need forgiveness. And man, can they make a difference in this world. My best to you today as you read Matthew chapter 10 and look at the wonderful people that Jesus called. He calls you and me too. Maybe he has a place for us as well. I think so. God bless.